Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast.
Guys, welcome to episode 150. That's right, 150 episodes of Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast. Compared to our guest number of episodes, that is nothing. But it's been 3 years of us doing this, and we're going strong, and I don't plan on stopping. So, in today's episode, I've got Mr. Dan Johnson from the Nine Finger Chronicles podcast to come on and kind of help us understand a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff on balancing work, home, and hunting, and really, in our case, podcasting. It's a great episode. Dan is a staple in the hunting podcast scene, really in the hunting industry. Dude's super humble, super great. Just an awesome guy. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Before we get started with that, obviously I got to do the partners real quick, and I've changed some things up. So all of the partners are going to be listed in the link down below, or in the description down below, and I have linked every single one of their websites for you to go to if you decide you want to help support them, and you just use the codes that are listed and save you a little bit of money. So we'll run through these kind of quick. Working Class Bow Hunter. I am actually wearing one of their older shirts. It's got the Geyer buck on it. They have some amazing apparel, just amazing, gear, honestly. So if you want to help rep those guys, head over to the website and use the code. Osteo Gear is my camo brand of choice. I have sat 3 times now and have not got spotted once. Honestly, I've got some really cool stories that'll be getting told on this podcast with that. I will say I did. Actually, I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, Osteo Gear is, in my opinion, the best camo brand that we have out in the market right now. And Joe Miles is a straight up killer. The dude's awesome. So please go support those guys. They have everything ranging from early season to late season. You can go rep regular clothing from them, hats, whatever you want. They are a great company, so please go support those guys. Next up is Summit Tree Stands. Look, my climber, I used it this past weekend. It was fantastic. It felt so good to be back up in that thing and comfortable and just used to what I'm usually doing. I love it. Summit makes a great product. They make a bunch of different types of climbers. They have hang-ons, sticks, all of that, harnesses, accessories, tons of accessories. So go head over to summitstands.com and go, honestly, go support all these partners. Okay. But Summit they've been around for a very long time, and I trust them. I think you should too. Next up is the Boutique. My buddy Michael Michael Stonebreaker making the best arrow wraps on the market. That's really all I can say about it. It's all I have to say about it. Just go to the website and go look for yourself. Dude is a wizard when it comes down to that. Next up is going to be Bergie Bowsmith. Bergie is another wizard with tuning bows and stuff like that. He's also a dealer of all the brands that we use. He actually just started his own arrow company now, so he's going to be selling that on his website. So reach out to Bergie if you want your bow tuned, and go support him. Dude's a great guy. Dude, seriously, shout out to Bergie. Next up is G5 Outdoors. I am running the Mega Meat and the Dead Meat V2. And, this is going to be the time that I tell you guys what happened this past weekend. So I had a doe walk out in front of me, and she presented a shot. I took the shot. I am extremely impressed with what the G5 Dead Meat V2 did. Now, I will say I did not recover this doe. Had nothing to do with the broadhead. Had nothing to do with any of the equipment. It was all circumstance. The doe ducked and turned, and I ended up shooting her either extremely high lung and got a full pass through. The arrow looked questionable. It looked like it could be lung blood or muscle blood. I tracked for hours, went everywhere that I legally could. Unfortunately, I could not find her. But I say all that to say that the G5 Dead Meat V2, the blades are still sharp, buried in the dirt, fully deployed, and the blood that I did find was extremely good. And that is with a 1.5-inch cut 3-blade mechanical. Now, I'm a bigger fan of the Mega Meat, which you guys know is the 2-inch cut 3-blade. That thing is an absolute monster when it comes down to blood trails, the hole that it leaves. You guys want to see really, you don't even have to reach out to me. Just go on Instagram or Google and type in G5 Mega Meat. You will see what the devastation is. So G5 makes an amazing product. They also have the T2, which is the 2-blade mechanical that they came out with, I think, last year. They have fixed blades. They have everything you guys need. So head over to G5 Outdoors. right now. Go change your broadheads. You won't be disappointed. Okay, I promise. You can buy a 3-pack of broadheads, buy a pack of replacement blades, and you don't have to buy broadheads for at least 2 years. I mean, unless you just shoot things nonstop, but they have you covered in every way that you need to be. And speaking of G5, Prime Archery, that is the bow of choice that I shoot. Been partnered with them since January, and I am loving my Prime form back there. It is the best shooting bow. I'm actually going to go shoot it here in a minute once I'm done recording this. I love that bow. The center grip technology is awesome. Super stable. The draw cycle is buttery smooth. I love it. So if you guys are looking at a new bow, I know Prime's gonna be dropping some new stuff, I think in December. But it's never too late to go get one of these forms, and they have other bows too. They have the RVX Plus 32 and 34. I think they still have the Ronin, which is kind of like their budget bow, which is still better than any other budget bow that I've shot. So yeah, go support Prime. Trust me, you're gonna love it. Next up is Dialed Archery. My dialed sight is solid, dude. Toughest sight I've ever used. They've got new small batches that are gonna be dropping, so go support those guys. Ace Hardware Social Circle in Social Circle, Georgia. That's my local bow shop. Go check those guys out. Small family-owned company. Please go help support them. They are great. They sell everything that we need. They'll get you tuned up. Just a bunch of great guys over there. Next up is Moultrie Mobile. So I am using my Moultrie Edge 2s and Edge 2 Pros. I have yet to get the Edge 3s, but I am going to get those eventually. Kind of not in a big rush because deer season's already happening and my cameras are working fine. So head over to Moultrie and go get some new cameras. Go get some feeders. They have a new Moultrie Edge Solar, which is the solar panel package. It's got a solar panel on top. It's actually really cool. Kind of looks like one of those weird military antennas. I love it. I think it's awesome. Next up, Bow Hunting League. So I need to give a shout out to my buddy Josh Criswell. He killed the first buck entered into the Bow Hunting League in Georgia opening morning. 123 and 6/8. So solid buck. Very happy for Josh. Shout out to Josh. I hope all of you in the Bow Hunting League and just everybody, I hope all you guys are having a good season. If you haven't signed up for the league, well, you kind of missed out. So you're going to have to sign up next year. Next up is Boating Archery. My alpha veins are still working great. I'm very thankful to be working with Boating. Super solid company, and they make an amazing product. Best veins on the market, in my opinion. Just lick and stick, ready to go. 1227 Productions. That is my buddy Brock's YouTube channel. Go subscribe. He's going to start filming. His season starts next week up in Michigan. Scrape Doctor. That is the scent company I'm working with this year, and stuff's been working great. We're kind of in a lull right now, though, for scrapes, so I'm probably going to have to, just keep them going. I mean, it's a process. He's actually coming on next week, so we are going to do a deep dive into scrapes. So all of you guys getting ready to do these scrapes in October, you're going to know what you need to do. Victory Archery. My Victory HLRs are flying super straight, super solid, grouping great. 1.5K weave is at least in my opinion, it's doing pretty solid. The groups have gotten a little bit tighter. I just love that arrow. I trust Victory. I've been shooting Victory for years now, and I really don't ever plan on changing. And last but not least is Outdoor Call Radio. If you guys listened to that when I was a guest on that show, hope you enjoyed it. If not, go back, go help support Dan. He's out of Iowa, and really, really good dude. So that's all the partners. I want to talk to you guys. Obviously, every episode I talk to you all about Jesus. That was mentioned a little bit in this podcast episode with Dan. But look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've been struggling a lot. I've been struggling with how I feel about this whole Charlie Kirk situation. I want to be angry about it. I am angry about it, but I am struggling a bit with who to be angry at. All right. I'm not fully sold on this whole story that, the official story that they've come out with. And I am currently leaning on God to help me understand, or at the very least, give me some peace with this. I've had a lot of my faith restored in humanity these past few days. I've had some buddies reach out that have told me they've given their life to Christ, which is absolutely amazing. I hope every single one of you listening has done that, or is going to do that, or is at least considering it, because that's my job. The whole reason I even talk about this is to try and bring as many people to Jesus as I can. That's what I'm called to do. That is I feel like my purpose on this planet. I mean, I love the Lord. Jesus is king. Christ is king. Never going to deny that. And if I can, I guess if I could just have one person tell me that they've given their life to him, I feel like I've done my job correctly. So it's nice to know that there's people that are still open enough to it, not jaded or anything like that, that they're willing to accept Jesus. You know, I mean, he will change your life. He is the reason I'm even here. Okay. And you know, with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, there's a lot of people that are, you know, talking bad on his name and happy he was killed. And you know, that to me, it's demonic. It's clearly demonic. There is no, in my opinion, there is no gray area anymore when it comes down to certain things. Like I can see somebody acting or saying a certain thing, and I'm like, that's of the devil, obviously. But no one is unredeemable, and that is the beauty of what Jesus came and did for us by dying on the cross, by dying for our sins, for us, so that we may have eternal life with Him. You know, it's amazing. It is. And the peace that you get from following Jesus and having a close relationship with him, there are no words. It's all I can say. So as every episode, if you haven't given your life to Jesus, or if you haven't even given him a second thought, please give him a chance. Okay, you will not be disappointed. And you know, I can't thank him enough. So that is the intro. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to go subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you guys have any questions or you have a guest in mind that you want me to get on, reach out. I will literally talk to anybody. I love it when you guys reach out and you know, I get to meet new people and have good conversations and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you guys. And let's get started with Dan Johnson from Nine Finger Chronicles. Very instrumental in me actually starting the podcast. Is one of the first podcasts I listened to, and 5 years ago, before I even started this podcast 3 years ago. We got Mr. Dan Johnson from the Nine Fingers Chronicles podcast and the Sportsman's Empire. Dude, what is going on? What's funny is, so we kind of had a really quick sort of rush start into this, which I'm so used to being a dad and having my daughter in sports and just family stuff all the time. And it's funny because I feel like that's kind of what's going on right now, isn't it?
Oh, it's my life, dude. It's every day. There's no rest. It's just full throttle. My favorite time of day is when my first two kids get on a bus, they take off. I feed my third child, and then he disappears. He gets dressed, he brushes his teeth, and then he disappears. Maybe he goes and plays outside. And there's like a 15-minute window every morning where I sit down on the couch, I watch a little news, I drink 2 cups of coffee, and then it's just like the Roadrunner. Beep, beep, boom. And then I'm gone. Like that's just full throttle until last night. We didn't get home from a football game until 9:30 at night. So, and then you wake up, you rinse, you repeat, and you do it again the next day. That's my life.
That's why I relate to, like, that's why I enjoy your podcast so much and everything that you preach on it. Cause like, I'm the same way, man. I mean, this evening, we've got my daughter's volleyball practice at 6:30. And then tomorrow we've got a tournament game for her volleyball at 6:30. My niece has a softball game at 6:30. So I don't know how we're going to make all that work. We're probably going to drop one off and go to the other.
Yep.
And I think then Friday, one of them's got another practice. Saturday, there's another game. And then Sunday, it's finally just sort of you lay back and kind of just take in the rare times where there's not much going on. So,
yeah. And how many kids you got?
I've got one, but I might as well have 3 because our family's super close. Like we're over there all the time. We're actually watching all 3 of them right now because my in-laws are out of town. So we're staying at their place all week. And yeah, man, I always thought I'd wanted more than one kid. And then watching all 3, I realized I'm a one-child guy. Like
fair enough.
It's so stressful, man.
Fair enough.
It's fun though, honestly. And that's one thing about your podcast that's different from like all the others. For those who don't, who maybe don't listen, your podcast is hunting centered, but you also give great advice on like balance and what it's like being a dad, and like the kind
Yeah.
of, you kind of set the bar for like us hunting dads, I feel like, you
Yeah.
know, like,
Well, I appreciate that. There's a lot of days where I have no clue what I'm doing, man. And I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. And I guess if I can give uh direction and relatability to a couple people, I guess that's worth it then.
well, you've been doing it for 1,001 episodes, and dude, congratulations on 1,000 episodes.
I
That
appreciate that. Thank you.
that intro to your 1,000th episode, I freaking loved it. Like, I
Thank
always
you.
push, Christian values and stuff on
Mhm.
this podcast, and when I heard you be like, all right, guys, so I got a whole list of people to thank, but the first person I want to thank is God, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, all right, Dan, I hear you.
Yep.
It was awesome,
I
man. Like,
Yeah,
what's
dude.
that been like? Like 1,000 episodes.
I really, even after like last week is when I launched it.
Mhm.
I really am still having trouble comprehending the scope of it, to be honest with you, because it's just, I've been in it. It's like, it's almost like this. If you look in the mirror every single day, or maybe even you take a picture of yourself in the mirror on day one, and then 1,000 days late go by and you take another picture, right? Every day I'm in it, so I don't notice any changes. I don't really notice any development. I don't notice any growth or decline or anything like that. But if you compare the first picture of yourself to the most recent picture of yourself, you know what I mean? You
Mhm.
definitely can see the change. And so every once in a while I'll go back and I'll listen to the very first episode of the Nine Finger Chronicles just to see what it was like, listen to myself and be like, who's this goober? Like this guy, there's no way this guy's going to make 10 episodes. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so it's really been hard for me to even comprehend the scope of what has been done so far, but I'm very happy with the fact that I've accomplished it. And I am happy that I'm in the space that I love with the people that I love. And what I mean by that is like, the hunting community is full of like really stellar people,
Yeah.
really awesome people. And that's probably the biggest takeaway I've had from being, if you want to put me in that hunting industry, hunting space, content provider, whatever title people give me. Um, I've made my life in it. I've found a lot of happiness in it, and I've met some really good people along the way.
Yeah. I mean, I just am so curious on like your balance. Cause like the
Yeah.
whole reason I started the podcast was because I've only been hunting now for, let's see, 6 going on 7 years.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I started it, and long story short, I always wanted to get into it. It's just I grew up in a
Mhm.
family that, had one uncle that hunted and he wouldn't do it. Like he
Yeah.
wouldn't take me with him.
Yeah.
And so I finally was able to actually start doing it, and I got obsessed. Like I'm talking crack addict obsessed
Yeah.
to the point
Dude.
where me and my wife are having problems. So I was like, dude, it was bad. It was really bad. So I told her, I was like, because I would listen to you and I'd listen to Working Class and a couple others, and
Yeah.
I was like, this podcast thing seems kind of cool and kind of fun. It's a way to get it out, and then I
Yep.
can go upstairs and I'm not like in her face like, hey, so this buck showed up yesterday at like, I don't know, 7:45. Sun goes
Yep.
down at 7:30. What do you think I should do? Like, how can I get him in there, right? And she's like, I don't know, I don't hunt.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I don't
dude, I
care
heard
about
that so
deer.
many times.
Yeah.
And so I finally started it, and then like I've said, you've kind of set a great example for it. I know the Working Class guys have, and it's just I've yet to be able to really find a way to, I guess, balance everything
Mhm.
where I'm not just feeling like I'm stretched so thin that I'm going to tear any
Yeah.
moment. Like,
I-
how do you do that?
I'll tell you this. I think for me, the moment I realized that hunting is not even in the top like three things in my life,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter, right? It like you once you realize the most important thing in your life is your family, and I don't know. Some people may even say your relationship to God. I don't know where I'm at on that journey quite yet, like from a religious and spiritual journey.
Mhm.
But I will say this is that once my focus went from caring about the deer and putting more effort and energy into my family, because those are the people like what like hunting can give me a lot, right? It can give me solitude, it can give me a refresh, and that might help benefit the family. But my family is something that I have to deal with on a daily basis, so it has to be my priority, right? And
Yeah.
so for me, once I realized that hunting should never be the number one priority in my life, or even like the second priority in my life, then I think I kind of understood that you can still go out and do it. You can find that balance. And it's hard sometimes, especially when, it's the last week of October and, you're looking at the radar. It says it's supposed to rain for 24 hours. And then it's like you want to get into the stand, but you have a coaching responsibility or you have a parental responsibility that you have to do. But then I keep going back to, again, hunting's not my number one priority. I make time for it,
Yeah.
but it's never my number one priority.
Man, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it, dude, it's just, I look at like, and let me ask you this: do you ever struggle with like an internal, I guess, competition with yourself? Because I've always been the type that's like, all right, last year saw this buck, got really close, didn't get him. So
Yeah.
this year I'm gonna do everything I can to try and get him. But then it's
Yeah.
almost like God's like throwing stuff in the way where it's like, yeah, actually do this first. All right, you did that. Now do this first. And it's
Yeah.
always, family related, and it kind of, I feel like it sort of makes you have to really look at your priorities and being like, what's more important? I mean, what's
Yeah.
like you were saying, what's going to benefit me and the family more? Me spending time
Yeah.
with them and parenting and helping, or me
Yeah.
killing a deer,
Yeah.
you know?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
How old are you?
30.
30. All right. So when I was 30, I was not married. I had no kids. I was getting blackout drunk almost every weekend, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
just not a good representation, like not giving back to my society in any way, shape, or form. Okay. So since then, dang near 15 years ago now, since I was 30, I I kind of have that, there's that saying where it's like there's an old bull and there's a young bull, and they're
Mm-hmm.
standing up on top of this hill, and there's all this pasture full of cows down in the bottom, and the young bull, he's like, let's run down there and let's breed every one of those cows, or let's go breed a couple cows.
Yeah.
And the bull's like, let's walk down there and let's breed them all. Okay. And so I look at that, and it's a funny way of saying, like, if you take care of your responsibilities as a father and husband, you're
Mm-hmm.
still going to be able to get out and do what it is that you want to do as well. If you have preparation, if you plan, if you have the ability to um, prioritize things like that. And don't get me wrong, things happen every single year where, like, I had a weekend planned to go hunting and then a kid got sick. Well, that derails a lot of plans. And I just go, you know what? I'm not going hunting. I'm just going to chill
Yeah.
with the kid, get them better. And I know that the first week in November is going to be here pretty soon, and I'll go then. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That, man, dude, I feel like half the things that you're saying right now, or really not half, all of it, now that it's out there, I'm hearing you say it and I'm just like, dude, subconsciously, that's exactly what I've been doing. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, do you ever feel like spread super thin though? I mean, like
Oh,
trying
yeah,
to
every
make
day, dude.
things, work time wise.
Yeah, man, every day.
Okay. So
Every
that's
day.
normal
And
then.
but I'll put it to you this way. Um, dude, that's a man's responsibility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if and I grew up in a very traditional family. Like when like my grandpa was out in the field, my grandparents were out in the field. Um, and they were the workhorse of the family. My grandma did a different kind of work. She was the person who did the laundry, and she cooked the meals and she kept the house and that kind of stuff. Those were my both sets of grandparents had that. And so I got to see that, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes, and so I kind of come from a traditional background, but in today's day and age, right, the traditional background is blurred. But when I said that, what I meant is that men are designed, in my opinion, to carry more of a load on certain things, and they are patient sufferers, meaning, you know, dude, if things go wrong, I'm gonna handle it. It
Yeah.
may mean less hunting time. It may throw me off my course or my goals because every single day, right? Like, for example, I had I messaged you right before this happens, and I'm just like, instead of losing my shit and being, oh my God, I had to cancel and all this, now the rest of my day is ruined. I
Yeah.
just am like, hey dude, I something came up on me. I got to go pick my daughter up from school after this podcast. I need you to move it up 30 minutes. If it can't happen, we're going to need to reschedule.
Yeah.
Well, that little adjustment that I had to make to my day is going to result in me probably having to work until 8, 9, 10 o'clock tonight. Okay. And it was only like 30 minutes that
Yeah.
this surprise came up for me. But what that does is it pushes everything else back. And my work now, because I didn't get it done before my kids get off the bus today, it all gets pushed back to the end of my day. Okay. Because I have to go coach, and then I got to go pick up kids, and I got to, do all this stuff.
Mhm.
So I used to be that guy who was like, oh man, this sucks, blah, blah. And now I'm just like, dude, go with the flow.
Yep.
Right. I've learned, I've learned a little bit more patience.
Well, I guess I might just need a little more patience because
Dude, I'm telling
being,
you, you do. Everybody
yeah,
does.
it's
I look back at how I was. Let's just say, how old's your daughter?
10.
10. Okay. All right. So you had a kid fairly young. Did you know what you were doing when you were 20 years old with a baby?
No,
No,
no, I did not. I still
no.
don't know what I'm doing with a
Right,
10-year-old.
right.
I don't know if I'll ever know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't think you're meant to, right? I don't
Yeah.
think there's supposed to be answers like that. But what I will say is when I had my first kid, dude, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, right?
Mhm.
There's no book that you can read on how to be a good parent, right? Um, everything's different, everybody's different. But I will say this to anybody who's young, like younger than me, I wasn't patient when I was your age, but I've had to learn it because
Mhm.
if you are not patient and you just sit there and worry and stress and have high anxiety over every little thing in your life, it's going to ruin it, right? It's going to
Yeah.
absolutely ruin it. And so but me telling people that isn't going to change that because you have to go through it in just like deer hunting, right? Like in order to be good at bow hunting, you have to bow hunt,
Yeah.
right? In order to be good at turkey hunting, you got to turkey hunt, right? And there's days when you fail, there's weeks when you fail, there's years where you fail. It's however that next day is, right? You got to get better, just be better the next day and try to be better the next day. And that's one thing we tell our kids when we coach them, me and the other coaches that I've worked with in the past is like, if you can get an inch better every day, in 12 days, you'll be a foot better. If you're a foot better in a month, you'll be 2 feet better. And you add all that up throughout the course of the year, right? You're gaining strides that you look back on and you're like, holy cow, I can't believe, and goes back to the podcasting. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I've been doing it this long and have done that many things and launched that many episodes and started a network. It's just life is funny.
Yeah. It is. I didn't think we were gonna kind of touch on that stuff because like I was telling my daughter something yesterday about she was kind of telling me some things she doesn't feel right with,
Hmm.
like how she feels bad about certain things that she does, but she does them anyway.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, look, if you're telling me that you feel this way, like say you treated somebody bad and you feel bad about it and you know it's wrong,
Hmm.
but you want to fix it, but you're not fixing it, the only one that's going to fix it is you.
Yep.
Like if you want to change something, I can't do it for you. You've got
Yep.
to do it. And it kind
Yep.
of goes, that sort of relates, I feel like, to, what I don't want to say like just the hunting aspect of things, but like you were talking about bow hunting. when I first started bow hunting, if I didn't, shoot all the time and start at 20 yards and then back up and then back up and then back up, I wouldn't be able to hit, a dot at 60.
Right.
And it took 3 years to be able to do that. And now it's like, as long as the sight's on, it's not even a problem, you know?
Right.
So I kind of want to change gears a little bit and talk about the start of Nine Finger Chronicles, where that came from, for the people who don't know, because I definitely know the story. But
Yeah.
then the Sportsman's Empire, because you do this full time, right?
Hmm. Yep.
So
Yep.
where you're at is where I'm trying to work towards.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, just what's the story? Like, how did you get to, you know, where you're at now? I guess.
Oh man. Uh, it's like you get asked a question like that, and my entire life kind of flashes in front of my face. Like all the way from like my earliest memories as a kid to like the worst times in my life and the best times of my life, and then like my marriage, the birth of my kids, and then the podcasting and all that stuff. And it's crazy, right? And and as far as the Nine Finger Chronicles concerned, man, it kind of started when I was living in a hotel in College Park, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's like an hour from me. I was actually just there today.
Oh yeah, in
Yeah,
Georgia, where are you out of?
Covington.
Okay, all right. And so that College Park, I was working in a factory, and that's where I got my finger cut off.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know it was down here. I
Yep,
thought that
was
happened up by
College
you.
Park. And then no, it would have been a little bit before I got my finger cut off. I was working down in Douglas, Georgia,
Okay.
which is, I think that's not too far from the Florida border, right?
It's a ways.
Oh,
Douglas.
okay.
I mean, maybe I'm thinking of Douglasville. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, it's on the interstate that comes south out of Atlanta, and
Yeah.
you follow it straight down. Anyway, um, so then I lost my finger in Atlanta, and that's when I became a nine-fingered human. Is in 2005, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd always kind of been into the hunting space, and I moved from Georgia to Alabama. I lived there about 18 months, and then I was working there, and then I moved back home. I was down there, and I was on a phone call with one of my buddies, and I hated the job that I was working when I was down there. And the girl that I was dating at the time, she was a year older than me, but she was from the same town as me, and she hated it down there. I hated it down there. And long story short, my buddy's like, "Hey, dude, if you make it back to Iowa, I want to introduce you to some guy who's a serious deer hunter," because he knew I liked to deer hunt,
Yeah.
and he was getting into deer hunting at the time. And he ran into this guy at a bar, and so I ended up moving back. And then one night, I went to go meet my buddy at a bar, and he was going to introduce me to this guy who had moved from Michigan, and his name was Todd Prignitz, and he was the owner, or he was the guy who started White Knuckle Productions. And
Oh,
so he
okay.
moved from Michigan, and he started White Knuckle Productions, and I helped him start that. And we got to be close with each other, and we started filming our hunts and all of this stuff. Well, then fast forward probably like 7 years, I ran in at a trade show. I ran into Mark Kenyon, and we met Mark Kenyon back at the early days of like before he had the podcast where he was
Mhm.
just blogging Wired to Hunt. And then Mark got invited to over to Todd's one weekend where a whole bunch of people were there. I think it was for like a camera or a film school or something like that. And he showed up, and that's where I kind of got a little closer with Mark, and got to meet him and have, more in-depth conversations. And then I invited him down to a shed hunt later that spring. I think it was like 2014 or something like that. And he was like, uh, I'm starting a podcast, and I'm curious if you would like to be the co-host of it. And so then I was like, yeah, dude, I without hesitation, because that relationship um with me and the guy who was running White Knuckle Productions kind of faded away.
Mhm.
And I was still wanting to do something in the hunting space. Mark brought this opportunity to me. I said yes. And so we started up, or he started up, and I was the co-host of the um Wired to Hunt podcast. Well, I think it was like 8 months went by, or 6 months went by, and there wasn't at the time hardly anybody in the space podcasting. Maybe like less than 10 people
Wow.
that were podcasting at the time. I think that I knew about in the hunting space, maybe even less than that.
Mhm.
And there's like Jay Scott Outdoors. There was There's another guy, I believe his name's John Stallone. He was podcasting way early on. There was Wired to Hunt, and then there was, I don't even remember who else back in the day. There
This
was,
working class didn't start till 2015, right?
yeah, I don't,
So they probably weren't even out yet.
no, they weren't out yet. And then there was another group of guys that started right around the time that I did. They were called Trad Geeks, and they were a couple trad bow hunters from Pennsylvania, I believe. Anyway, so I felt like Mark at the time, he was interviewing a ton of people that were like big names in the industry.
Mhm.
Okay. And I was like, well, I know guys who are doing the exact same thing that the big names in the industry are doing, who are just like they're killing the same big deer all over the country, but they're just average Joes who have full-time jobs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so I was like, well, there's definitely room in this space for me to go out and start my own thing. And so that's when I was like, I'm going to start my own thing. And so I continued to be the co-host of the Wired to Hunt podcast, but then also host my own podcast. And that started, I believe, in late 2024, or excuse me, 2014 or early 2015. And then I think you're right, like maybe a year went by. And then I think that's when Kurt and the working class crew started somewhere we were all kind of really close and starting at the same time with
Yeah.
the biggest one in the space being Wired to Hunt. And and so we had like, I was putting out 3 episodes a week sometimes, and it was just
Dang.
because I absolutely loved doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was back in the day where it would take me, a handful of emails to get a guest, and then it would take me an hour to record, and then back then it would take me an hour to probably edit and write, and then another hour to upload the actual document up
Mhm.
into some of these places where I was doing it. And it was crazy because it was like 9, 10, 12 hours a week addition while I had babies, while I had babies at home, and while
Man.
I like I was joking, and you probably heard it in the 1000th episode where I was talking about like in the early, if you listen closely in a lot of the early Nine Finger Chronicles things, you can hear my kids crying. You can hear my wife yelling
Yep.
in the background. There was a lot of episodes that I would record where I'm talking to somebody and I have my youngest son in my arm, and I'm giving him a bottle so he falls asleep while I'm recording the podcast.
Dude,
And
that's
they're yeah,
crazy.
just like 50 to
That's some
100.
super dad stuff right
Yeah,
there.
right. We're talking hundreds of episodes like that where I have an office now above my garage, but like mo- like my first couple episodes were in my kitchen,
Mhm.
and then I took all my kids' stuff out of the closet that was in our nursery, and I stuffed it into a dresser, and then I built in my boys' nursery is where my first studio was, all insulated in a closet.
Yeah.
And then that's after, a handful of years later, I finished out my attic above my garage. No heat, no air conditioning up here. I just got something in
Woo.
in the window. But I look back and I'm like, yeah, dude, that was. And so getting back to the question, like the origin of the Nine Finger Chronicles was just like a dude with nine fingers who loved deer hunting and wanted to share his story and the story of others who I felt were like me. And, you know, that was the birth of the Nine Finger Chronicles. I knew Nine Fingers had to be in it. And then Chronicles, I can't even remember. Maybe it was like Chronicles of Narnia or some shit, or, like I don't know, but it just, that was the name that popped into my head. And that's the name I went with.
Yeah. I remember when I first found your podcast because I didn't know what to look up. Like I'm pretty sure it was you, Working Class, and Meat Eater were the first, and Wired to Hunt. So that's probably the first four podcasts at the time,
Yeah.
back in 2019 that I found. And man, I don't know if you've seen it and maybe you can elaborate on this. But like I feel like it's changed so much since back then, especially being
Yeah.
involved in it now. But
Yeah.
like just the way that the direction that all the shows have gone in different ways, and the hunting community,
Mhm.
like I feel like our community's changed just in the past 5 years that I've been in it, or 6 years that I've been in it. I mean, have you noticed like a major change, or is it still kind of roughly the same to you? Maybe it's just
Man,
where I'm at.
one thing that I've done, or I've made it a point to, is to not fall in line with like the old school industry standards of whatever it is. I think I've gotten to the place that I'm at because I've done my own thing and I have continued to do my own thing, and I'm not influenced um by other people.
Mhm.
And this is one thing where I was talking to Kurt on probably at a trade show or something like that, and he was telling me, I think I mentioned something about like, dude, I don't listen to hunting podcasts at all.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I don't listen to hunting podcasts either. And I think we agreed that the reason we don't do that is because we don't want to be influenced by what might be popular
Mhm.
or what a possible trend is or things like that. So we've just kind of done what and that's what I like about the working class bow hunter is the authenticity of what it
Yeah.
is that they're doing. And I think a lot of people, well, you know, the messages that I've gotten over the past, 30 days, once I hit 1,000, have been that, you're authentic and you're real and you're relatable. And that's why I follow you, is those messages that I've got. And so, I can't speak for everybody because I know there's a group of people who probably think I'm a douchebag, which, I'll even agree to that
We
sometimes.
all got them. We all got them. If
Right.
you look at the Ron Buck episode on my YouTube channel, it's nothing but hate.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yep.
okay, there we
Yep.
go. I
Yep.
mean, I knew it was
Yep.
coming.
Yep.
That's funny. Yeah, that is the important thing. Like I remember asking Kurt, because he really has been very helpful with me sort of going
Mhm.
about this whole thing the right way. Um, and I
Yep.
would ask him, or I remembered I asked him when I started, I'm like, dude, what's the most important thing? Like, because I'm over here like, man, I want to get like T-Bone, Waddy, Lee from
Mhm.
Seek One, get all these big names. And he goes, dude, the guests don't matter. He's like, you'll get the guests, they will come,
Yeah.
they'll show
Yeah.
up. The consistency matters.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, over the past 3 years of doing this, and I'm sure you've figured it out. Obviously, you have figured it out, but you just kind of find the time to be able to do it. You
Yeah.
make the time. Like you might like right now. I'm probably sacrificing, I don't know, an hour, 45 minutes with the kids.
Mhm.
When they get out of school here in the next hour, and I might make it over there in time. I might not, but I have to get this done, and I'll probably be editing and stuff while they're doing their homework, and then put it down, go help them, and just what I'm saying, like back and forth. I
Yep.
mean, would you say that consistency is the most important thing when somebody wants to start a podcast?
Yeah, man. I mean, consistency plays a role in a lot of things. I mean, from a technical standpoint, like even if you decided to um, start a podcast and you only put one episode out a month or something like that. Well, that goes against everything that Spotify and iTunes and everything is set up technically for them to index your podcast and get you set up, hooked up with the algorithm that's out there so people can find you. So
Mhm.
from just a technical standpoint, a weekly podcast is extremely important. But also, if you start out and people find you, well, if you're only putting out one episode a month, then you're definitely not hitting, like, once people find you, they want to come back to you,
Yeah.
and they want to come back to you. And if there's nothing to come back to, well, they're going to go somewhere else with their attention.
Yep.
And so I think that was a little bit of my focus where I put out so many episodes in the first 5 years, right? So I think I averaged, out of the 10 years, I averaged 2 episodes a week.
Mhm.
But there were weeks where I put out three. And then around the hunting seasons, I would fade back to maybe one or something like that. But but yeah, man, consistency on all levels is a good thing, even outside of podcasting, like just
Yeah.
showing up every day to your job or to your relationships with your friends or family, and building that as well. I mean, consistency is a huge part of life.
That is true. I mean,
That's
I've
where
seen it
that's
just
where
in the,
growth comes from, man.
yeah. Well, and that's kind of why I was asking, because I've been seeing more people reaching out over on my side of things. And I just did an episode with Cody Idol, and I had probably like 10, 15 people reach out and be like, dude, that was one of the best episodes you've done. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't mean to sound not humble, but you're kind of right. Like, it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and it's cool getting that engagement. Especially, you actually had one of my really good buddies on your podcast a few years back. You remember a guy named Brock Wingo?
Oh yeah, dude. I know Brock.
Dude,
Yeah.
I remember when I first met him, he was telling me about how, because he hopped on the podcast a couple
Mhm.
times,
Yeah.
and he was like, yeah, man, I was on Dan Johnson's podcast. And I was like, really? And I guess I had missed it. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, dude, what episode is it? So I listened to it. We now talk every day, and he probably brings you up 3 or 4 times a day. Because I'm over here saying, like, all right, I need to go, do this deer stuff. Then I got
Yeah.
practice. Then I got podcast. Then I got this. Then I got this.
Mhm.
And he's like, man, just listen to what Dan's saying, because he's got it figured out and balanced. And I'm like, you're right. So I thought he would appreciate me bringing that up. He's probably going to listen to this and be like, dude, why'd you bring that up? Why'd you tell him? And I'm like, dude, it's okay to fangirl. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Hey, shout out
We all
Brock.
do it.
Shout
Yeah.
out Brock.
That's my boy. That's my Michigander boy right there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I so let's talk hunting. We got another probably 10 minutes or so. I want to talk hunting with you. And it's probably gonna explain some things for me, but with the limited amount of time that you have, and I know you've been successful,
Mhm.
right? And what's crazy is you don't really score your deer, do you? You kind of say like a
No.
150, 160 class, but you don't score your deer.
No.
Okay.
I've scored one of my deer because it was funky looking back in 2000 and what year was that? That would have been 2012.
Mhm.
And then I scored another one in 2018 because I got peer pressured by my stepdad. It was I'm assuming my biggest buck. It scored 154 and I think 154 and 2/8 or something like that, or something like that. And he's like, you got to score it. You got to score it. And he kept asking me, and I was like, okay, Jesus, I'll score it. And then
Well,
since then, I haven't scored any. I typically don't score any of my deer. No.
dude, I feel like I'd be so much less stressed if I didn't care about score, which is it's a bad trait. Like I was talking earlier about that.
What does the number prove? That's what I want
I
to know.
see, and that's what I was getting at is I, two things I want to know is, one, how you've been successful, and two, what your opinion on people's, I guess, view on the score. Because like my own personal thing, I already know if I killed a 150 tomorrow or a 250 tomorrow, my life's not going to change. No one really cares,
Yeah.
right? But it's kind of like an internal, like I'm very competitive. And so, this deer back here is the biggest deer I've ever killed. That was 3 years ago. I've been trying to beat that ever since.
Hmm.
And it's, I don't want to say it's a pride thing, because I'm not trying to like show it to the world and be like, guys, look at the deer I killed. But it's kind of a thing where it's like, an internal battle, right? Where it's like,
Maybe.
can I beat this score? Can I get a deer bigger than this? Or am I
Yeah.
just stuck with 2.5-year-olds? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So I'm curious your outlook on that, like people's outlook on scoring.
Well, I think if you're focused on the destination and not the journey, then you're missing on out on something,
Okay.
right? If you're focused on, and that's what the hunting industry has become,
Mm-hmm.
or and maybe it's starting to slowly fade away from that. But if this whole big buck thing, I can remember back in the day, like on some of the first ATA shows that I've ever met or I've ever been to. And back when people just, it almost seemed like people weren't thinking back then. They weren't using their brains. And
Mm-hmm.
I can remember people saying, so and so is the greatest deer hunter I because he shoots Boone and Crockett deer.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and I was that kid who, like, my dad, one thing that he instilled in me was just to be a question asker,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when someone says that, I go, well, what makes them good? Well, he shot a 170-inch deer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, so it's the inches that make him good? Well, well, because he shot that booner in Iowa on a managed farm, right? On like 400 acres.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the guys in Michigan or Pennsylvania or New York who are running and gunning on public land and the biggest deer that they'll ever see in their entire life might on that ground might be 140,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're consistently killing 133-year-olds or 2 and 3-year-olds on a consistent basis in some of the highest pressured ground in the United States for bow hunting or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so I start to ask these questions, and these people get pissed because they don't have an answer for you, right? Because the industry has almost brainwashed us in a sense that we've put these people because they have a TV show or uh, a YouTube channel or something on a pedestal, and we assume that they're these great hunters, but we don't know their scenarios,
Yep.
right? We don't know where they're hunting. We don't know, like, I don't know where you hunt. I don't know what the caliber of deer that you hunt. Do you hunt public? Do you hunt private? And there's all these different stories across this. And that's kind of where I've built the Nine Finger Chronicles on, is trying to listen to the stories of people in different scenarios across the entire country. And I've come up to the conclusion that there is no such thing as a hierarchy of who the best hunters in the country are. There's
Yeah.
one good hunter, his name's Andy May, and then I don't know about anybody else. You know what I
Hey, if
mean?
you had to
Like,
pick anybody, Andy is
dude,
definitely
the
a good
guy
pick.
shows up, deer come to him. He like whispers into the wind, and deer come to him,
Yep.
and he shoots the biggest deer in the woods. So
Dude, I
outside
got
of
a
him,
buddy
I
like
don't know.
that. I
Yeah,
got a really good buddy like that. I just told him yesterday. I was like, I call you the country Lee Ellis, because no matter what, he kills a big buck every single year. And it's the
yep.
same thing I see on Seek One, where Lee just walks in the woods and a big deer's literally in front of him, and the deer's just like, "Hey, you're Lee, right? Hey man, go ahead and shoot me."
Here's my
Like,
vitals.
yeah, right. And it's crazy. And I think you're right. I mean, I grew up, like, I'll be honest, I grew up thinking the Rompola buck and all of that was like real, right? Like this big, crazy, like that whole story. That was the deer, that and the hole in the horn buck were the two deer that I consistently saw when I was younger.
Mhm.
And I think that's what, and plus I played deer hunter as a kid. So every time you
Yep.
shoot something, it's 155 plus inch deer.
Yep.
And it's just that little pixelated thing that,
Mhm.
you shoot it. And it's like, that's a nice buck. And that's all I knew. Right. And living in Georgia, like, the biggest deer I'm hunting right now has maybe a 130-inch frame, but nothing for points. I mean, he basically looks like a mule deer, but he looks cool. And I think it's more of, I feel like I'm kind of going down the road that you are on, where, I mean, yeah, I want to know what the score is, but I really just care about a deer that gets me excited,
100%.
but I want to get something bigger than what's back there. And like I
Yep.
said, 3 years of trying. I mean, I was hunting a broken rack 6 point last year with a 130-inch frame,
Yeah.
and like he wouldn't score at all, but he'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So I do see it a lot.
I started having way more fun and appreciating the time in the woods more when I started caring less about the actual deer.
Yeah.
It like that sounds weird. I just put myself in the best possible spots. And if a big deer showed up, good. Like last year is a perfect example. Last year was the first year since 2016 that I didn't kill a buck in Iowa. All right. And I didn't kill it because nothing really got me excited. I passed a whole bunch of small deer. There was one deer I passed. I felt he was young. He had a good rack on him, but I don't like I'm okay with it. Like
Yeah.
I don't I have realized that I don't have to kill to have a good time in the woods. I'm at that stage in my life. But there
Mhm.
was also a time where I wanted to find and locate the biggest buck, find his bedroom, move in on him, kill him a certain way. And now I'm less about that. And I'm just about getting out and enjoying the process, not the final destination, which is
Yeah.
like, I think a lot of people focus too much is on the inches and the hero shot than they do on the process and enjoying the moment. Right.
Do you
Because
think that's just part of growing up as a hunter? Like getting older and sort of going through the process of it?
I think it's a personal thing, really, because
Okay.
I know guys who are my age and older who are still out there looking for giant whitetails every single year. And in a way, I do that. I mean, I'm still running trail cameras. I'm still looking and putting myself in the position of where I feel like the top tier deer on the farms that I can hunt will show up.
Mhm.
But after that, it's just like I don't give a shit what my deer scores, right? If it snort wheeze and it's like if it's a like some of those deer and I mean definitely down in Georgia, I'm sure like a big mature buck, his coat will be different. He'll his body size is way different than
Mhm.
a deer that's maybe a 2 year old or whatever. And that's across the whole country. And they do big deer things like snort wheeze and fight and lay a scrape and watch their body language and watch them come out into a herd of another deer and establish dominance with just showing up.
Yep.
The other deer know who he is. They respect him without even acknowledging him, right? And he just is in charge. And whether that deer has a 120-inch rack or he's a 200-incher, um, I am going for like I just kind of am an experienced guy. I would shoot a 120-inch deer if he fought off three other deer. 2 years ago, I watched a 120-inch 4-year-old walk into a bean field late season and kick the absolute shit out of a 155-inch whitetail.
Wow.
And they fought, and that 150-incher ran away, and that was it. And he
That's
was king.
crazy.
He was king of the field, but he was damn near a 300-pound, 120-inch deer, right?
Huh.
And so I mean, I'd shoot that 120-incher if he got close to me that night. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't I just all the things that this we've been led to believe is what makes a successful hunting season. I don't give a shit anymore.
Man, okay, so I know we're constrained on time.
Yeah.
We're at that point, unfortunately. We need to do another episode to
You got
elaborate on
eight
this.
minutes.
We
You
oh, we
got
have 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. So let's see if I can pack this into the next five, and then we could do the little outro
Yeah.
deal that you know. Yeah, dude, I think you're right. I mean, I have seen it's actually really funny. I saw a Spike on camera yesterday beating up on this little button head,
Mhm.
and I was making jokes with Brock today about it. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that Spike was getting all aggressive thinking he runs the stuff. And then this
Yeah.
2.5-year-old comes walking up and just completely kicks him out of there. And then
Yeah.
that 2.5-year-old is in there. And then a 4.5-year-old comes in, the buck I was telling you about. And it's just funny to see, what these deer are doing. And you're right. I mean, the experience of it.
Mhm.
I've got more failure stories and, they're good experiences and I learned from it
Yeah.
about big deer than I do killing them.
Yeah.
Like the biggest deer I ever saw on the hoof or anything was a 160-inch 10 point on public 4 years ago
Yeah.
that I thought was a squirrel.
Yeah.
And I turned around and heard a twig break. And next thing I know is, Bambi's dad sitting there. And I'm just like, Yeah, I didn't kill him, but the experience is still there. I'm going to tell that story
Yeah.
the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So you're right, man. I mean, do you think we'll ever get back to like the experience being more important, or do you think that we're kind of going in the direction
I
of
don't
just
know,
big
man.
bucks? Because a big
Uh,
buck this day and age is not the same as it was 20 years ago.
uh, well, it is for the guys who have the ability to manage, thousands of acres,
Yeah,
right? They're going to be able to manufacture that whatever experience they want, right? Do they want a lot of deer and they want to have a lot of people hunt their farms, or do they want to focus on giant antlered whitetails, right?
yeah,
It just depends on what experience that you're looking for. But unfortunately, and I've tried to mentally prepare myself for this day. The pay to play model of hunting whitetails in North America, or just hunting in general, seems to be heading down the pay to play um, route.
yeah,
And unless you own ground, you're going to be limited to public, which is at some point going to have to be an option for me, especially in a state like Iowa where there's hardly any public at all.
yeah,
Lots of people, access is key here, right? Lots of people are going to be leaving hunting because the land that they used to hunt got sold to somebody who had the money to buy it. And obviously, there's going to be a giant displacement of hunters when that day comes, when it's slowly getting to that. And it just is it's going to make the gap between the public land experience, and because where are people going to go? They're either going to quit or they're going to go to public land,
yeah,
right? And so I'm lucky to where I get to bounce around on public every once in a while here in Iowa. And then I also have a couple farms that I have been privileged to hunt and gotten to have good relationships with the landowners. But when they go, then I'm going to have to go back on like door knocking missions
yep,
and things like that. And there's this I'm calling it the Great Divide, right? And the Great Divide is a bell curve. It's a spectrum, right?
mhm,
On one end, you have the people who, as the pay to play people, are displacing, buying land, displacing hunters. They're getting kicked out. They're either quitting or they're going to public, and there's more people on less acres.
yeah,
Okay. On the other end, you have the average hunter now on the opposite side of that, taking up more acres per hunter, meaning that back in the day on 100 acres, maybe there would be three guys hunting. Now there's only one,
mhm,
right? And whether that's through leasing or buying or managing the deer herd or things like that, um, access is going to be a huge role, and people are going to have to be selfless. And if you're a landowner, you have two options: you can help people, or you can hoard it to yourself. And hoard is kind of a bad word
mhm,
because it makes somebody seem greedy. And that's not necessarily the case, because I also believe if you've worked hard to buy a property and that property's for sale and you buy it, now it's your property and you get to do
yeah,
whatever you want on it. If you want to manage for big deer, you manage for big deer. If you want to share it with your family and friends and things like that, you do that too, man. So it's just a weird spot we're in
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have been hearing stuff like that, and even public. I've got three pieces of public
Yep.
within 20 minutes of my house, and I actually haven't hunted one of them, so I'm going to be hunting that for the first time this year. But the other
Yep.
two, I've been seeing just in the past few years more
Yep.
people. I mean,
Yep.
I ran into it. I actually had two cameras stolen off one of my honey holes last year that I never thought anyone would even pay attention to,
Mhm.
and I didn't even get to hunt it last year just because I
Yep.
was so pissed off about it. And I'm like, dude, you know what? I don't even know what's going on here. It's not worth it. There's a whole thing behind that. But this year it's different, and you're right. We're either gonna have to be door knocking and get permission and do whatever we can to keep it, or lease it up. And if we can't do that,
Mhm.
then we're gonna have to hit public. And what do you do when you've got 2,000 acres of public and 200, 300, 400 people trying to hit it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
I don't. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yep.
On a positive note. But
Yep.
look, man, before we sign off of here, tell everybody where they can find you. I definitely want to get you back on so we can do a more
Yeah,
lengthy
absolutely, dude.
episode.
Anytime.
But
Anytime.
let everyone know where they can find you at.
Well, here's what I'll tell everybody is go to the website Sportsman's MENS sportsmansempire.com. And at that website, you won't just find the Nine Finger Chronicles. You will find a boatload of other hunting and outdoor podcasts that have that have been vetted, and I have personally picked out whether or not the quality is good enough. All right. And so some of these guys like Missouri Woods and Water, these guys have been at it for a long time. We have the number one, and I'll say it with all certainty, we have the number one best hunting habitat podcast in the country on our network.
Yeah.
His name's John Teeter. He is the goat. I'm telling you, right? He makes everybody else look bad. That's how much knowledge he has about habitat. We have the Huntivore podcast out of Michigan. This dude, like we love chasing deer. This dude loves killing deer and then eating them with some kick-ass recipes. Like my entire network is built around guys who I feel are like me and I am like them. And we just put out real relatable content, and we put out, um, you know, a ton of content that is just badass, man. And I'll put that up against any network that is currently out right now.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
Well, Dan, thank you for coming on. Seriously. And we will figure out another time to get you back on again and do a longer episode, get more in depth and stuff. But seriously, man, thank you for being an inspiration to
I
me getting
appreciate
to
that.
do
Thank
this.
you.
And yeah, man, I guess until next time.
Yeah, I'll end on this note.
All right.
Like if no one's talking about certain things, then certain things die, right? And so it's not just me. There's even people within our own industries for some reason saying that the podcasters and the hunting community and maybe even some influencers are ruining hunting for the average Joes. Well, if you're not talking about it, it doesn't exist. All right. And so I feel like if we don't talk about it and we don't do what we've been doing and the magazines go away and the influencers go away, then there's no mention of hunting and it falls off people's radar. And then the conservation efforts fail, the community gets smaller. And when our community gets smaller, then I don't know. We go away and our votes, like people don't vote for us anymore.
Yeah.
And so there's that little part right there that plays a big role. And there's a lot to unpack on that comment. But at the end of the day, right, man, at the end of the day, I think what it comes down to is just being a good human being and trying your hardest to be a better version of yourself than you were the day before. And if everybody in the world tries to do that, then this world would be a really good place. So there's
Amen,
that.
brother. I love that. That's a great way to end this one. I appreciate it.